my friend, it's Pat Sloan here. So today we sew with Paradise Park. We're kicking off the box lanterns pattern. And a lot of you have gotten the kits. There's still a few kits left. But before we do that, there's a few other things. It is Arbor Day. And Arbor Day started in 1872 in Nebraska when a citizen went to one of the boards in Nebraska back in 1872 proposed an Arbor Day, a day to plant trees. And then that took off from there. So if you are planting today and planting a tree, that is amazing. I would love to see tree quilts with trees on them. I think that would be super, super fun over in my group, my community, Quilt Along with Pat Sloan, my group at Facebook. It is also Pretzel Day. I love pretzels. Greg and I love pretzels. Maybe that's because we were born in Pennsylvania, where I think that pretzel loving is like they're the epitome of pretzel loving. Soft pretzels, hard pretzels, sticks, twisted, it doesn't matter. I love a pretzel. It's also Save the Elephant Day. And so if you have an elephant quilt, I would love to see that as well. And our favorites here among the ambassadors is Hug an Australian Day. And we would love to have our favorite Australian, Kendall. He's a little far away, so we're sending you virtual hugs, Kendall. All of us are sending you hugs from the ambassador team. Okay, I've got the calendar for May. So the May calendar, you want to be sure to download that if you didn't do it when I mentioned it yesterday. There's 2 parts, remember, 2 pages. The second one has a list of projects with links. If you're on the PDF online on PDF, you can click links right to project pages, all at I Love to Make Quilts. So you want to be sure to do that and just look at the days so that you understand what's going on, what days are what. Now, Paradise Park boxed lanterns. That is a pattern. Let me just pop the picture up. So this quilt has 2 blocks. What I'm going to call the star block, which is obvious, right? And the other block, which is what I'm going to call the lantern block. Now the way the Fat Quarter Shop works, Fat Quarter Shop has kits for this. It is a Sew Emma pattern, which is their publication. The Sew Emma pattern is called Evergreen. So that is what the pattern name is. And when the Fat Quarter Shop makes a kit, they always give the kit a different name, something that might relate to the fabric line used for the kit. That's kind of how they handle things. And because Paradise Park box lanterns is a lot to say, I'm going to call them Paradise Lanterns. So we're going to reference this Sew Along and this Quilt Along as Paradise Lanterns. So I hope you're okay with that. I know, get all the details out. There are a few things I want to tell you. Because this is a paid pattern, I cannot show you the cutting directions, but there is a lap and a twin size. And what the Fat Quarter Shop did with this particular pattern is that the lap size blocks are a different size. They're a smaller size than the twin size blocks. And we are making the lap size. So I recommend that you sort of highlight when you're looking at directions, or even, go ahead and fold away like this, the other one, because it is different cutting sizes than you will be using for what we're doing. Now, if you want to make a lap size and make the bigger size block, you certainly can. But if you bought the kit, the fabric in the kit is for this size, so you won't have enough fabric. You will have to purchase more fabric, which of course you could do. But I just want you to be really, really aware of that, because that's not, you don't see that quite as much. It's a cool little feature. It's a cool little way to write the pattern, but you just need to be aware of what you're looking at and highlight the proper one so that you know that you don't cut the wrong thing. And there's just the 2 sizes, and everywhere you go where it gives you sizes, they will give you the lap size first, which is what we're doing, us, and then they'll do in parentheses the size of the larger block for the twin quilt. And I know lots of you love twin quilts. And so, this is a pattern that gives you that. You just have a little bit bigger block. So there you go. Now what I want to do is walk through the fabrics used for the different blocks, because we have a couple of ways that we can approach working on this. Some of you love to cut everything at once and then sew. And because it's just 2 blocks, and I like to sew rows, but in this case, I'm going to talk about today the lantern block. Next week, I'll talk about the star block. And then after that, each week, I will sew a row together. Like tomorrow. Next week, I will sew the first row. And after that, we'll sew each row together. And then that way, you're moving along. But I'm going to go over the block that has more components to it today, which is the lantern block. The star block is really straightforward. So first, talking about the fabrics used for each of the blocks, and it has a pattern, so you can see. So hold on, let me put that picture up of the quilt again. So here's the picture, and you can see for the lanterns there are 2, right? 2. See my fingers? There are 2 different colorways. They all have the same light background of all the blocks. And I'll talk about the light background in a minute, but let me just talk about the other fabrics first. So some of the lanterns are done with these 2 fabrics here, the pinky red and the navy with the white, the little vine. So these 2 are what one set of lanterns are in. Then the second set of lanterns are in these 2 fabric. The navy version of that same fabric line with the little vine, and then the larger blue, sort of, I always think of those as like those sakura flowers, just beautiful, beautiful flowers. So that's what these 2 blocks are in. Now let's take a look at the stars. Let me switch the fabric. So the stars are made with 3 different fabrics. I've got the pink paisley. Just love this so much. So much. I don't know. I almost think like this should be the backing of it. Just love it. And then the big navy flowers, the big sort of daisies with white. Well, the white daisies on navy. And then that pink flower here. So that is the center of the stars. Now let's talk about backgrounds. I have several lights for the Paradise Park, and many of those can work. The kit came with the white on white, or comes with the white on white. There are still some kits left, so if you want to get one, be sure you do it, because I'm sure after today there'll be even less of them. So the white on white, which here it is on the bolt, but here's a big piece of it that I have. Let me show you the white. It has got the great big daisy, and I think you can see it there, right? White on whites are so popular. You love them so much that the white on whites are sold out. They're actually, I think, printing them. There aren't even any to send to anybody. I mean, there could be some in stores that you didn't all buy it yet, but it is sold out. So if you are not getting the kit, you have some of my fabric already to use. The other lights in the line will look actually marvelous. They will give a slightly different look than this, but let me show them to you. So I have, let's see. So you can see the white on white, which is the big daisy. So it's this pattern. It's this pattern, but done as a white on white. It's so incredible. You apparently loved it a lot. But I also have this one, the flowers, and it is in, see that one here, where it's got like a very light etched gray. That's gorgeous. And so for a background, I think this one would be so wonderful. It would give it a little bit more pattern, which would be so gorgeous. And then that comes in with blue. So if you really love blue and want to have just a bit more color to your background, or it comes in pink. These are my early ones. That's why you're going to see this white here. That's these are early cuts. you don't have that much when you buy it now. Just so you don't panic. Yeah. So either of these, or the one that's got the very pale gray. So those are other options of which are available. So if you're going to buy one of them for your background, those are all it. And I'm sure that if you're waiting for this, hopefully it won't be too long, and you can get the white on white, which is, I know a lot of people actually collect white on white so that you have them, you know, when you want to use them, which is super wonderful if you collect mine too. All right, I have one of the lantern blocks made, and then I'm going to tell you a bit more fun stuff. So here is one of the lanterns. On the top row, there are 2 of these and 1 of the other colorway. What I highly recommend is you make 1. You know, cut 1, make 1, so that you walk through the process, because the lantern block has a bit more pieces, a bit more going on than the stars. The stars are super easy, squares and some sew and flip corners, so they're super easy. But this one has a few more interesting construction things. This, of course, is the lap size block, like I said, which is the smaller size block. And I want to show you the components of this. I'm going to go ahead and get one laid out on a board. Give me a sec. What I've done is I have the block I just showed you, and then I have the block all split apart. And here we go. This block, this split apart one, is all the pieces cut. Nothing is sewn together. But you can see the structure. Here's the red unit, red on the bottom, and then blue, 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 blue. Okay, so the other thing I will tell you about is I did cut all of this with the Accuquilt die cuts. And so we'll talk about that next. But first, let me just show you the individual components. You have the center, so you've got a square. You've got 4 corner squares, 2 in each color. Then you have these bigger half square triangles. So you have a bunch of them because they make up units. So these are the same size here, the big half square triangles, and then these 2 are the same size, the big half square triangles. Then you have the smaller triangles, the medium size. These are like the medium sized triangles. So you have 2 in each color, and then you have white to make the unit. So these 2 units here make this. Make that unit right there with the big half square triangle and the 2 smaller ones. Then out here you're balancing with the square 2 of the small two of the small triangles. They're not half square triangles, they're triangles. 2 of the small triangles, balancing the square to make it the other side of this unit. So it becomes a bigger triangle when you sew this together, and then you sew it to the bigger block. And so these will all come together into here. Now, what I did is I asked our ambassador, Kathy, who has been using Accuquilt dies for a very long time. She uses them for all her primary things. She has a lot of the dies. She is very good at sort of figuring things out, a pattern, and figuring out which die works for it. Some are very obvious, some are not quite as obvious, which in this case, because we are doing quarter squares, we're taking a square and cutting 4 triangles from it with an X. So she helped me get the correct block to do that, which are these units. The other thing too, so I'll give you those numbers. I'll give you the die numbers at my website today and in the link in the description box here under the YouTube video. So if you have dies and you want to go, use the dies you have, or you want to pick up a new die, I've got all the links for you. So the units here, when they're by the die cut, all the little dog ears, the triangles are trimmed off so that when you sew those together, they go right together like this. There's no triangle part, they're blunt edged. So that is fantastic. That is one of the big benefits of die cut machines, besides the speed and the accuracy of cutting. They are also, for triangles, just marvelous. What I want to do is I'm just going to go over and show you the die selection that did this. Of course, the pattern, you can absolutely follow the pattern. It has directions for cutting, and you just follow along with that, and it's very easy to follow. All right, let's just go over there. This is my die cut workstation. So I have the Go Big, which is the electric version, and I highly recommend getting that one. Just save your pennies a little bit. And I just think that it's better to just go for this one than the manual. But if you want the manual and you have the manual, they totally work fine. But this one is a dream. It's just a dream, and it's a very doable amount, I think, and you can watch for sales. So anyways, I don't have a ton of dies. I have a lot of basic ones. You know, this isn't my primary way I cut, although I think it's very cool, and if I was going to use it as my primary way to cut, I would need to have a bit more permanent workstation, like maybe this would all need to be clear along here so that I could, you know, put the dies, put the fabrics, and stage them, because this is plenty of room for me to cut. And then I've just got the base dies in here. Some of the dies that we use are in the 6-inch block, the Go Cube, the 6-inch one. That's what's here. Other ones I've pulled out into my generic boxes. So let me just show you. There's two size squares. Remember the center square, and later in the smaller square. So you've got these two for the lantern block, you know, the corner squares. And then you have three sizes of triangles. You've got the larger triangle, which is this one here. You've got the medium-sized triangle, which is actually the quarter triangle. And then you have the smaller triangles, which are this die. So I thought, and then you've got to have a plastic sheet, for, you know, to go over top of it. So you've got for the small dies, and then for the long die. So I thought you might like to see me do this one, because maybe you haven't seen that one before. So let me just move these a second over here, and I have some of the fabrics cut. You want to cut them into you know, a little bit bigger shape, and of course a little bit longer. Mine is actually a little more than a little bit longer, you know, you can see here. But if I was being, it just happened to be the size of the fabric worked out that way. But I want to have most of that extra in the same spot, like down at the bottom, rather than splitting it half and half, you know, the extra, because it's more usable to have a bigger chunk down here left over. So I want to get up here. See, I still could, I mean, I could be super frugal and come down a little bit more. That bottom one isn't quite lined up. Okay, you see that? There we go. And then the sides are past the die. And the die being that it's a colored die, you know, like two colors here, light and dark. You can see it for super easy. All right, so now I will just put the plastic sheet on top, and then you just run it through the electric machine. It'll start as soon as it senses the die is in there. And whoops, there we go. I was holding on to it. So as soon as if it senses something isn't quite right, it stops like it just did, and it comes out the back. There we go. Now I need two hands to take this off, because you pretty much slide it. Particularly if you've stacked things like half square triangles so that you can work with them. These don't need to be stacked. I mean, they're fine if they, you know, don't come apart. If you just pick this up, the friction makes them sort of all start to come up and off the thing. If I slide it, they kind of lay there, but I need two hands, so hold on. Okay, this is the best I can do with this camera. I didn't feel like getting a tripod out. So I'm just going to slide this across, and then you can see, I'll pick one set up. There is a set because I had three different fabrics. Okay, let me just hold this up now. So I gotta flip the camera. Okay, there we go, there we go. You can see there's three different fabrics that were under here. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there we go. And I've got, there we go, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is what was not cut. You know, so I have very nice usable shapes. Up here on this end, I have, you know, very skinny leftovers. Look at that. See, you can be super, super frugal. I mean, it is going to have a little bit more waste than hand cutting, but it's worth it. Okay, so I've got all of those ready for lantern blocks. I want to show you sewing two of the components. First, it's this one, because this makes the block. And so basically you have to turn these two pieces into half of the square, so into a triangle, so this can be sewn together. And when I do this, you know, you're sewing right sides together, but I start at the point at the end that does not have a point. If there is an end that does not have a point, that is the one that I start on, because there's no reason to be putting the point in there. You might as well just start at the straight edge, which is the easiest. And my guide beam is right through that intersection, so I know I'm good. You do always want to check size. After I sew this to this, I will look at the pattern, it will tell me what size it should be, and I will verify that. If it is wrong, fix it, because it will not get any better as you go along. So that is the first unit, which, let me just take it out a sec. Here it is as the other half of this square, and then you will just, you know, and now you have the trimmed off edges, which if you were sewing, you know, regular triangles, you would have that as well. And so I will, of course, you got to go on the point on, whoops, let me just, I'm sewing one-handed. Okay, so I'm going down here, and then now I will just make this guy go, 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 go. Okay, and now he is our unit, like this. There we go. I'll press him, but first let me just show you the other one, and then we'll go. Then we'll wrap up. So for these guys, these little guys, I will put one on top of the other, and again, I'm going to sew from this end, which just means I'm going to turn it over. So I will turn it over, and it's lined up. I will sew him like this, and then I want to press it. This one is made. What you want to do is check its size, because of course it should be the same size as your square. Okay, we need to do this corner to get the other half of this square. So we're making this into a triangle, just like we made this into a triangle. We're making this into a triangle. Again, I put right sides together, and I'm going to sew from this end, right? Because that's the nice, flat, even end. I don't have any hump to go over. I don't have any seam to start with, and I just find that works a whole lot better for me. And then when I press this open, I will have a half square triangle. Okay, it's a triangle, not a half square triangle. It kind of will be when you put it together. But anyway, don't sew from this side. You're sewing blind. Sew from this side. So I will put them together just like I did the other unit. Line them up nicely, and then sew this one into a square. And you have an intersection to hit here, so that you don't chop your point off. Hit your intersection, and away we go. The Solaris and many other baby locks have this guide beam that's built in. It's fabulous. Okay, let me show you it open. I'll press it. And here it is, pressed open. And you will repeat for all of the blocks, and then sew the blocks together. So you're going to be building blocks like this and blocks like this. So that is all the steps for making a lantern block. So they are a few more steps for the lanterns than there are for the stars, and they're a little bit more to them because they have these fun blocks that aren't our regular kind of blocks that we make, which I think are so cool. If you are nervous about the bias edges on some of these things, then you can pre-starch your fabric before you cut. Starch it and then cut, and that will help with that for those of you who want to do that. Also, check the size every single block. Every one of those block units, let me grab them. Like every one, when you have a block like this, check the size before you go on, because if it's wrong, it is going to make your whole block too small or too big if it's for some reason too big. But it won't correct itself. So you have to catch it at this point. So measure, measure, measure. On my website today are the Accuquilt dies if you want to look at those. I'll list the dies and link to them. And thank you so much if you use my links for your purchases, because I receive a small commission off of your entire order from any of the shops in my shopping page. And then those links that I always give you also, you know, are the links that tag me so that I get the commission. I appreciate it. Mwah. I appreciate it so much. Okay, the other thing is your calendar. Download your calendar. And there is no video on Monday, so I will see you on Tuesday. I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.